Last night in our We Out Here game of D&D 5e that I run weekly for some friends, we had a great session. It was pretty amazing, and I learned a lot from the session. I think all the players had a pretty good time. At least I got pretty good feedback from them afterwards. And it was amazing right up until it became a TPK. And I think it was all my fault. And so we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to the vlog. I'm Gregory. This is 1 in 20 D&D, and as you can probably tell from the title already and this quick introduction, I essentially unintentionally set up a situation last night that basically turned into a TPK. I felt horrible about it after the fact, and even while it was happening, while I could see that downward spiral happening, and I just don't have enough experience as a DM to sort of know what to do in the situation to turn things around quickly, which I would love to be able to do, but I just couldn't. I didn't, and I couldn't, and I think going forward I might be able to avoid that. But I want to talk today about like what I was doing, what happened, why I think it went sideways, and hopefully what I might avoid doing in the future. So I will also say I'm going to do my best so that none of this becomes spoiler information, and hopefully if you ever run these adventures for yourself, you'll know, you'll be able to find your own surprises and so forth. And if you're a player in one as well, there'll be lots of surprises. So this is the Princes of the Apocalypse module that I'm running, and having a module to follow has been very helpful. It's also challenging because, of course, there's no way to account for every eventuality. The group has been doing amazingly. They're sneaking around. They've like secreted themselves away successfully. They sort of passed a checkpoint, if you will, successfully. They haven't tipped their hand as of yet, as far as they know. And they get down into some underground mine tunnels below the Sacred Stone Monastery, where they were trying to infiltrate and get some information, doing like a fact-finding, like what's going on here kind of mission that they had adopted for themselves. When they get down into the area below, they are searching around, and they encounter a patrol group of two individuals, two baddies, let's just call them loosely, and they handle this situation. However, one gets away, and so that one ran away to get reinforcements. They frantically searched around because this creature was able to get away from them without them being able to stop it, and they're like, oh my gosh, where did it go? So they are scrambling to find it. Well, it went to get reinforcements. They did some smart stuff. They decided that they would take a rest, which helped, but they only got a short rest in. And so the party was down a lot of their resources. They had used lots of spell slots. They had used lots of their resources like Bardic Inspiration and Rage and these kind of things. And so they were sort of in a bad way, but they had most of their hit points and were still trying to poke around and see what was going on. One of the party members had seen something that caught their attention. They wanted to go back and investigate, and that's when they sort of encountered a not quite trap, but the patrol was, let's say, waiting for them, and there wasn't any surprise. Everybody was sort of ready for ready for the shoe to drop, and so these two groups encountered each other, and madness ensued. And here's the thing. The party was handling the fight. They were outnumbered, which is always a challenge for D&D, especially in 5e, unless there's like a huge difference between the party's level and the monster's level, the challenge rating or however you want to, rate them. So in this case, it was somewhat balanced, but it got really challenging really fast, and they were still handling it pretty well. And then I made a fatal decision. I decided that part of the reinforcements were laying in wait, and I decided before it happened that there was going to be a trigger that would then warrant this reinforcement stepping into the fight. Now, as a DM, it's my prerogative, it's our choice of how we want to maneuver the pieces on the board and when we want to maneuver the pieces on the board. That's the thing that we as DMs are supposed to be doing well, hopefully, to make the game feel challenging and let's call it life-threatening without making the game unbelievably and unreasonably overwhelming if there's not a way out. And here's where I made a mistake. In fact, I think I made sort of two mistakes in one. The party was in a space where there sort of wasn't a way out. I suppose they could have like pushed past the bad guys and then found a way out. But let's just say, for the sake of demonstration, for the sake of this situation, they had their backs against the wall. And on top of that, I threw not only some pretty heavy odds against them to begin with, considering that they were low on resources, then I had like reinforcements show up because they tripped the trigger, which in hindsight I can say, you know what? That shouldn't have mattered. I didn't need to like throw oil on the fire. The fire was already raging and they were doing okay to put it out. But then I literally threw water in the pan and it just became a firestorm, I suppose. It was bad. We ended, so one member went down. Holg, our half-orc, has his relentless endurance, so he came back with 1 hit point and decided he would continue fighting, and was very well, and then he went down again, and another character went down again, and the last 2 were like, one of them was really badly injured, and the other one was like out of spell slots, doesn't have any kind of like, wand or staff or anything really to draw on, is just like sitting there with cantrips going like, yeah, we're screwed, guys. And so we sort of ended this situation. The fight was still raging. They had these, more opponents than they could handle, even if all 4 of them were on their feet. And we just sort of, we stopped the game and had a conversation. So it's kind of on me to decide what's going to happen next. Like, it looks like it should be a TPK, and we had a great conversation. This was, I think the biggest lesson was when the situation got really uncomfortable for everybody at the table, we finished the game session, and then we talked for like 45 minutes or something about like, okay, what went wrong? You guys were doing great here. And I kind of pulled back the veil a little bit and said, okay, well, here's what I had done and why I had done it, and here's how things sort of went foul. And I take responsibility. I think I made a mistake. It wasn't the dice in this situation. It wasn't really the decisions of the players, because they were tactically had some really good ideas. They were really working pretty well together as a team and such. So I cannot fault the players at all. I cannot fault the dice at all. And so that really leaves only one more variable, and that's yours truly. And so I'm okay with that because I love learning. So I really screwed up last night. And so now I guess it's going to be kind of fun and interesting to figure out, like, all right, do we roll new characters, which we sort of discussed? Everybody at the table, literally everybody at the table, me included, loves these characters. These characters are fun, they're interesting, they're dynamic, they're coming up with creative solutions to the problems that they're being faced with. This is like the exact opposite of a murder hobo party. So yeah, I want more of that. And yeah, pretty much everybody at the table is kind of like into it. Now, so Andrew was the last member of the group to join, so probably not as invested in his character as maybe Sam and Austin and Dane are. They've had a little more time to come into their characters, and yet and still, Andrew's character Telvik is awesome. Like, I love Telvik. I think all of these characters are just like super fun, and I kind of want to see where their story goes. And it's just a game. And so I feel like there's an opportunity for me as a DM to grow, for us as a group of friends to like, you know, just like take a redo or take a, you know, call a foul and say like, hey, wait a minute, let's back things up and maybe there's a way out of this. So I have to be super creative. If you have some thoughts, I'm down for that. I would love to hear suggestions. I can't say that I'll definitely heed them all, but I'm open to suggestions of like, well, what would you do in that situation? Here's where things lie. They're facing some opponents who basically would probably just kill them all. They could take them prisoner. Kind of weak. They could though, because they're guards. They are guards. They're being paid to do their job. So they sort of have a duty and they maybe would be willing to take them back to, yeah, that's kind of weak. Or should it just be a TPK? I'm sorry guys. Yeah, the DM made a mistake, but sometimes that's the way things go. Let's roll up new characters. That one feels the worst of the selections to me. We've got some fun ideas floating that some of the players suggested that I might roll with. So yeah, I got a big decision to make before next week now. How am I going to get my butt out of a sling as the sort of guide for this story? And yeah, but I learned some great lessons from it. I learned A, have other options, and B, be more aware of all the moving pieces so that you don't move them in a way that sets the ball rolling in a really bad way. So there's that like downward spiral and upward spiral. It could have gone either way because they were starting, like things were going well. Some really good decisions were made by the players. Looked like they had an advantage. But then I totally threw a monkey wrench into it. I didn't mean to, but that's functionally what I did. So live and learn and grow. I'm looking forward to next week. I can't tell you. Of course, tonight we have our great game on One Crit Wonders channel. We're playing in the Dragon of Icespire Peak. Come join us for that. And by all means, tune in tomorrow for the recap from what is, I am sure it's going to be an incredible game tonight. So I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you at a table someday. Keep rolling 20s until then, and remember, it's your game. Play your way.